Ni hao. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. Thank you, CSP Plaza, for the chance of being with you today. I try to show as clear as possible the activities developed by Aries over the world, and the activities developed during the last year and a half in the Delingha project. According to that, I try to divide the presentations into main points. First of all, Aries experience on CSP and on engineering and services, and on the other hand, experience in the Delingha project. Okay, like a brief presentation, I would like to say that Aries was founded in 1985. We are about 100 employees. We are an independent company. Our clients used to be companies like Solar Reserve, Sun Edison, Alpha Power, Butter, and for sure here in China, CGN. By now we are the only company that is doing this kind of activities in China, and we started to make solar projects in China in 2012. In the beginning, we have been involved in several test loops for different suppliers. You can see that the big numbers, more than 2,300 megawatts on engineering services in concentrated solar power. Projects in Spain at the very beginning, in the period between 2005 and 2009 mainly. Morocco, South Africa, Emirates, Jordan. I show you now in detail more of them. And we are really focused on energy, so we have been involved in PV, and we are now involved in PV, in big projects. For instance, last project that we are involved in is the development of PV in Armenia country, and we provide more than 2,000 megawatts in engineering services. In any case, I would like to point out the value, the experience in technical advisor and owner engineering for more than 1.5 gigawatts. The experience in owner engineering, the real experience in owner engineering, is based in 3 50 megawatts plants in Spain. This plant was constructed about 2009, 2010, 2011. The NUR1 was the biggest parabolic fruit line in the world. Bokpur, 55 gross power in South Africa, and nowadays the Delingha project. What, at the end of the day, is the role of the engineering, owner engineering? Revision of engineering, something that was commented here. We are talking about the revision of basic, revision of detailed engineering, typically from the EPC contractors, according that the warranties has to be provided by the EPC contractors. Quality supervision, monitoring of a schedule, at the end of the day is part of monitoring of the contract, contract management. Summarizing, safeguard the owner's interest. In that scheme, more or less is shown, it's not always the same for sure, but is representative of typical timing for the activities that are being developed during our works in this kind of projects. The previous stages, basically review of engineering and procurement, after mainly, of course, the supervision under construction, commissioning and startup. The target, achieve the preliminary acceptance on time. I try to be, or to make a brief presentation, so not going really deep in all the details, but I would like to show big numbers of these projects. The first one is 50 plus 50 megawatts in Spain, called Aste 1A, Aste 1B. In that moment, you can see that the CAPEX was huge. We are talking about the boom, with very expensive components, with very warranties from the EPC contractors. In that project, we made the development of the project from the very beginning, basic engineering, main equipment purchase process, financial model development in order to start and to enter in conversations with funds and with banks to raise the funds for the project, and all the works with the EPC up to the contractor, like specification, tendering evaluation, and negotiation with contractors. In these two plans, we are part of the ownership. We have about 7% of the equity of the project, and these couple of plants are now producing about 105% of the initial guaranteed energy production. Aste Sol 2, another plant in Spain, very similar to the previous ones, so I try to go fast to this one because it's more or less the same, but another project was a couple of 50 megawatts plants, one close to the other one, and this is a plant only with 50 megawatts, and the process followed was similar. NUR 1, now in operation. The customer, Aqua Power. In the oil engineering, in this case, the scope was a pre-engineering review. That means technical analysis, studies, feasibility, performance model. We have our own internal toolings for that activities developed in-house. So we are able to compare the typical commercial tools with our tooling tested with plants now in operation, in which we have real data because we are part of the ownership, so we are able to check a modeling with the real data and provide during the pass of the time more realistic values. Detailed engineering, revision and approval, EPC procurement support, construction, startup, commissioning. Bookboard, that in operation, I think a couple of months ago. The customer again, Aqua Power. The scope in the supply was the owner engineering, like following more or less the same, preliminary engineering review, detailed approval of engineering after checking, support during procurement, construction startup, O&M supervision, commissioning. How about the Delingha project? This is only a general overview, current status of the project. The place, the site is really special compared with other places that we have been working before. Probably in part because some commentaries done previously by Mr. Bernard, and in addition because the place has probably low radiation, and there are 3 EPC contractors on the project. One EPC contractor for BOP, one EPC contractor for the HTF system and test, and another EPC contractors for solar field. The players involved by now, owner engineering Aries, turbine, Chinese supplier Dongfang, all pumps Salzer, really well known and used, a lot of plants in Europe. Ensival, pump salts, another critical supply. Harbin turbine for the SGS in China here. Northwest Electric Power Design Institute for the EPC of BOP. The EPC of ATF test by Shandong Sunway Petro, ATF Solutia, that you know now has been purchased by Eastman Group, a big US consortium, and molten salts, that is again new in this kind of projects, by a local supplier, Xiangqing Minerals. Project structuring and coordination. Owner, CGN, is in the middle of Hugo, the middle of the OE services and the EPC contractors. The structure of the OE is project manager of OE, that in this case is me, an engineering manager in Madrid that is in charge of all the revision on engineering and technical discussions, and a site manager that is living continuously in Delingha. The EPC contractors by now are fixed, the BOP and ATF test. The solar field EPC is selected and is really close to signing the contract, but now is under negotiations. And the relationship between these three parts is monthly, weekly meetings between them, and for sure, the daily work on site. The definition of owner engineering services in Delingha is something like this. Engineering design review, previously revision of basic, now revision of detailed engineering, to ensure that the contract scope is properly reflected. Carried out by the EPC contractor in engineering. This is probably the first step and the key one. Procurement technical support. It means guarantee that the owner, for the owner, the best in terms of cost, quality, reliability, and warranties. Aries was present in the bidding process for all the critical supplies, selecting components, raw materials, and going to some tests in factories. Factory acceptance services, commented, to ensure the right equipment manufacturing, mainly critical for components that are really far from China, and CGN in special needs the support. And follow up the construction, that is 60%, 70% of our time. To support the proper development of works in schedule, scope, cost, and quality. In this moment, I have to remember again the different figures between an OE and EPCM, no? And the responsibilities of both for the revision of the activities. And the last, and not the least, is support the commissioning and startup. Achievement, preliminary acceptance on time and good conditions. And during all the life of the project, coordination and a training. That is something that we don't use to do in other projects, but in this case in special was required by our client to have a full and continuous training during the more or less 2 years of construction period. Project work division, this is the site shown previously. Small part, but critical one, BOP EPC, ATF test EPC area, and solar field. The project development now in Delingha, this is a figure only, like a draft. Vision is some activities or main activities of purchasing has been done. Main activities in civil works execution has been done in BOP EPC. We are progressing in ATF test EPC, and solar field starting. About electromechanical activities are starting in BOP EPC and have not started really yet in ATF test, but we are in that. and for sure by now in solar field. Considering that there are 3 EPCs, it's not possible to achieve the testing, the preliminary testing at the same time. But for sure, the commissioning will be done in different moments. The previous commissioning, the cold commissioning, but all of them have to start up in the same moment. As you can imagine, all of them are interconnected. This is one of the challenges in this project, to be able to have at the same time the system, mainly heaters and test system ready for starting, for being able to send oil to the solar field. So at the end of the day, it means to finish everybody at the same time for a preliminary acceptance that is scheduled in the second half of 2017. I am going to show some photographs. Photographs that I received from my people on site from the monthly and weekly reports. Probably are not so nice, but I think represent what is doing now on site. The BOP area with a turbine building erected, the aerator bay, demineralized and ultrafiltrated tanks, steam turbine engine room structure, water treatment and electrical control building, nice photograph, the back side of the molten salt tanks with the pipes for refrigerator, the molten salt tank foundations, cabin room, workshop and warehouse foundations. Some conclusions that I would like to put on the table and available for sure for discussing with everybody of you. First of all, the project is on execution and progressing for its fulfillment. The experience in Delingha will be important and valuable for future projects here in China. EPC contractors are achieving experience and confidence, very important. Critical components and new suppliers, in this case, mainly suppliers that came from China. I'm talking about, turbine, SGS, molten salt, so on, are proved in this solar power for future projects is important. Companies involved will acquire skills on critical system and solar technology. Frankly speaking, I'm now thinking about the test system. According to my point of view, it's advisable that new projects will be supported by companies with real reference on CSP and experience in this sector, and everything that everybody knows. The future in China is very exciting. It's very promising. And now we all are pending of the final feed-in tariff value. It has been a pleasure, and thank you for your attention. I'd be glad to answer any question from your side.